A couple months ago, I covered a bunch of allegations made against the YouTuber Chuggaaconroy, who has now came out with the response to everything in this Twitter thread where he says, "Hey everybody, it has been a long time since I last shared anything with you, but I now feel ready to give an update on how I have been doing, and clear up speculation on some incidents that have been brought up since my last message. Whenever something blows up online, people make a lot of incorrect assumptions based on not knowing the full story, and often assume the worst possible context. I would like to start by clearing up these misconceptions. I haven't wanted to reveal information about others, but I think at this point, it's best that everything is out in the open. I have removed irrelevant personal information as I only want to say as much as I need to in order to set the record straight. Please do not bother anyone I name here. I do not want others to experience what I went through. I have already asked that people not harass my accusers, and it is disappointing to see this ignored or not respected. I truly don't want anyone to be attacked over this." Regarding Masay and I dated for 10 years and we were engaged to be married. It fell apart about 3 years ago now. In every video you've ever seen us together in, I was her boyfriend, and our friends all knew about it. You were probably wondering how this stayed a secret for so long. We both wanted our private lives to be hidden at the beginning. After the engagement, I wanted to share it, but Masay stayed firm that it remained private. She was never clear to me as to why, but I respected her wishes until it was necessary to clear this up. We loved each other, and I thought the world of her, but we had a difficult breakup. Losing her was the hardest thing I've ever gone through, and I regret how emotional I got about it and the way I handled it. That is what happened between us. We would both like to never hear about one another again, and I sympathize with her getting bombarded about my situation after a breakup. The feelings she expressed go both ways, and I don't wish to be associated with her going forward in any capacity either. As for her video cameo after the breakup, I did that because I believed we were still friends and just taking a break from each other, but once she told me she didn't want them, I stopped. I have strong feelings about the way it was said, but I am asking you nicely to not run away with speculation about her, because I know what that feels like, and if you felt bad for enjoying our old videos, don't. I still look back on them fondly, and personally assure you we were happy and having fun in them. The time for that is just over now. Regarding Lady Emily, in 2023, Emily contacted me through a friend who spelled out how our conversations made her feel. I was shocked by it, apologized to her, and to some friends I had said/done similar things with. It was well received among the people I talked to, and I'd like to say here that I'm sorry to anyone who hasn't heard this from me. I'd hope to tell you on my own terms. This was genuinely the first time this behavior was met so negatively to my face. At the time, I was told that this would not go public as long as I never did it again, which I have not done since. I took it to heart and sought professional help immediately. I felt like shit for months and was seeing a therapist about it every week. And by the start of January, I really felt I was making some great strides in improving. I took Emily's words seriously and was doing my best to take responsibility, but unfortunately, it all ended up going public anyway. It crushed me inside that despite my efforts, Emily and many others would see me as irredeemable. I want to dispel a few things said about me by Emily. I didn't ask her for foot pictures constantly. I asked once if I could see a picture of her wearing the shoes I bought for her, which I honestly didn't realize would make her uncomfortable. I've gone through our logs and could find no evidence of that claim, that I was constantly asking, or that it was of her bare feet. I don't think this is a fair summary of our chats. My kink doesn't define every aspect of my life. I bought Emily shoes because she told me hers were damaged and needed replacing, then told me it was almost her birthday half an hour later. It was spur of the moment, and I just wanted to help out a friend. I've also made jokes about feet and bought shoes for most of my friends throughout my life, even for people like Tim. He then shows the Discord messages he had with Lady Emily, which starts out with him saying, "Nice sneakers." Emily responds, "Lol, thank you. I need new ones to be honest. My everyday pair is starting to see some damage, lol." Chugga responds, "Seems sadly typical due to thin fabric." Emily responds, "Yeah, the curse of liking shoes that aren't durable. Got them on sale though, so for $20, can't complain. Hope you've been doing well." Chugga responds, "Hey, thank you. I just finished editing a video that was nuts to make." They then talk about the video for a bit, and then Chuggaaconroy says, "Do you got any goings on other than having holes in your shoes?" Emily responds, "Not much. Got back from Vancouver last week. Visited someone and stayed with them. That was a wonderful time. Besides that, it's just been settling back in playing Zelda and trying to find out what my month is going to look like planning wise." Chugga responds, "How wonderful that is. I hope you were having a fantastic Pride month too. You deserve so much." Emily responds, "Thank you. It's my birthday month too, so hopefully it's a good one." Chugga responds, "Oh shoot, when's your birthday?" Emily responds, "June 19th, to which Chugga responds, "Wow, another civil rights day. So like, do you have a PO box?" Emily responds, "Not at the moment, no." Chugga responds, "Oh well, I was going to see if I could partake in birthday niceness." Emily responds, "Oh, well that's very kind of you. You can just have my address address if you want. Chugga responds, oh wow, didn't expect that. So we're on address basis? Emily responds, lol, well I trust you. You're a friend. Chugga responds, thanks. I thought of you as a fast friend too. Emily responds, I am happy to hear that. Oh, have you been playing Zelda any? Chugga responds, of course. I have about 80 shrines. Emily responds, oh wow, damn. I don't know how many I have. Lol, I have enough for a full stamina bar and 11 hearts. Chugga responds, you can see it on the loading screen. Emily then replies, according to this, I've done 54. Chugga responds, good work. If I may be so bold, sneaker size? Emily responds, oh, generally around women's 10, give or take a little, but that's usually what works most often. Chugga responds, nice, to which Emily responds, yeah. Chugga continues his thread by saying, she would encourage my roleplay and jokes about shoes, and even consented and participated. I checked in multiple times to make sure it was really okay, and trusted her with the sensitive part of myself, so that she wouldn't feel misled or like I had ulterior motives. I think that's also why I didn't particularly try to hide this. I thought I was being dumb with consenting friends, and at worst, that it was a little embarrassing and my kink was probably one reason I liked the subject. My partner read through what Emily posted and thought the tone was silly, not over the line of what's sexual or romantic to me. I trust her opinion on that more than my own. I was also evaluated by medical professionals about my shoe talk. Their view is that it was a way to feel close to a friend and an escape in times of high stress and tragedy. It would resurface whenever things got particularly bad. Chugga then shows more Discord DMs that start out with him saying, yeah, YouTube doesn't give sick days. Hope you don't mind all the foot jokes. I guess I just latched onto that after you told me about it. I'm not sure if it's a sensitive subject for you or anything. Emily responds, nah, it's fine. I don't mind. Chugga responds, oh, okay. I thought about it more and I was like, ooh, I hope she doesn't have a negative association with that or something. Emily responds, nah, it's all good. Also, I hope your day has been good. 2 days later, Chugga messages her and says, yeah, being forward with you, I'd rather not keep anything from you and let you make the best decision for you. I am into that, but only with my significant other. I just also like talking about shoes with people because it's also an interest. I talked with my significant other about this when we started dating, and she told me I can talk about shoes with other people because it isn't sexual with my friends. It's just something I enjoy talking about with my friends too. I know that might be a lot to share, and I'm sorry if it is, but I feel it's best to just be open with people and consider what I'd like to know if I was in their position. Emily responds, no, I'm glad to know. Good to have that openness and common understanding. Chugga responds, thank you. That's very kind of you to see it that way. I'm always about communication even if it's about complicated stuff, because why would you not tell your friends important things if you want to keep them in your life? A lot of people are not so kind about this sort of thing on the internet. Haha, sorry to ping again. I just won't be up too much longer and want to finish talking. Chugga then shows some more DMs from the next day to show what the transition looked like between talking about normal stuff to roleplay. The DMs start out with Emily saying, oh, PS2 was the console I remember first really getting into. I feel like I missed a lot of Wii games, to be honest. I didn't really get to actually have a Wii. I mean, I kind of used a Wii, but not really. Chugga responds, surprising. I felt like everyone had one, usually alongside one of the other two. So like, I feel for you. I really do. But if you were still coughing and sick, what do you need shoes for? Emily responds, I mean, yeah, if you want them, go for it. Chugga responds, damn, that was easy. Emily responds, I mean, I'm sick. Far be it from me to put up a fight. Chugga responds, is this a trick? To which Emily responds, why would I trick you? Here are the shoes. They are normal shoes. Chugga responds, ack! No! Emily replies, here you go, and then sends a picture of a shoe. She then says, here, I'll even give you another pair too, showing the boot from Paper Mario Sticker Star. Chuggaaconroy responds, you. To which Emily responds, you can use these later on for potential boss fights or enemy encounters. Chugga responds, oh, fuck off. To which Emily replies, laughing my ass off. And then Chugga says, I see you were just putting them back on like nothing happened after tormenting me. You weren't gonna give them up. Emily responds, I'm never gonna give them up. And then Chugga says, you're asking for it. You were even showing me up at my own shtick. I'm warning you. Emily responds, do your worst. And then Chugga says, okay, fine. Goes over and gives you a hug. Emily responds, ah, I didn't expect this tactic. Chugga responds, feels nice. Hugs you tighter but not uncomfortably. Emily responds, yeah, but also dang, you got me. Chugga responds, yep, I got you. Hugs tighter, now a little uncomfortable. I'm gonna teach you a lesson. Sweeps your legs out from under you and lets go of you as I do. You fall to the the floor. I grab into each of your shoes and you yank them off, leaving you barefoot. I stand back across the room from you. Ow, gross. Does it hurt knowing that's what they really look like? Emily responds, no, no, no! You can't do this to me. Chugga responds, oh, silly girl. I'm not done. You won't be getting these back before your doctor's appointment. Enjoy explaining those feet to the doctor, who will undoubtedly be wanting to study them. I turn and run out the front door holding shoes. Eep, bad, bad. You can't be seen like this in public. You need something to hide your feet with, but I took the only 2 pairs of shoes or socks. Emily responds, no! I will wrap them with a blanket. Cocoon myself. Chugga responds, and run outside after me like that? Emily responds, I can hop. Chugga then continues his thread by saying, this is the tone of the conversation that led to the roleplay. I think honestly that it reads as pretty silly from both of us. I remember when this happened. I was just playing a video game and laughing to myself when she'd add to it because it was also out there and dumb. I cackled at her sticker star joke. My girlfriend wanted to add that Emily's decision to include personal information about her was greatly upsetting to her. Emily needlessly published the territory my girlfriend lives in. This was not public knowledge and did nothing to prove any point. In Emily's screenshots, I'm open about having a girlfriend and told her my significant other was fine with all of this. Our relationship had no bearing on any of this and never needed to be brought up. I also want to say that I never lied about how this was resolved privately. In my original statement, when you communicated this to me privately a few months ago, I apologized to you directly and promised I would never repeat this kind of behavior again with anyone else. I worded things that way to protect the friend who mediated, as involving others was something I wanted to avoid. I promised my friend I would never repeat this. We discussed it for hours. They told Emily how it went, and then I sent Emily this apology. He then shows a Discord message from November 18th, 2023, where he says, my friend talked to me about this. I apologize for everything I did. I will not reach out again. I am sorry. I never claimed we had a conversation about it. I said it was communicated privately, which it was. I don't think a friend being there contradicts that. I don't retract any apology about hurting her or pestering her for a reply. Nothing I've said changes that I did that. I just felt this important context was left out. This is what I was working with, and why I was so comfortable doing this. I kept asking if it was okay, and kept doing it because she said she enjoyed it. I wanted to be open with someone I cared about rather than just assume, and gave her my word that it wouldn't go into sexual territory for myself. It still wasn't a good way to act. I just hope it's understandable how I could think this way. Due to an autism spectrum disability, I struggle with understanding social cues or people's limits. I don't hide behind this as a shield from criticism. I've learned to live with it. I learned I couldn't always trust myself to say the right thing, or not take things too far due to my inability to see social situations the same way as other people. Doctors have told me this is what happens with me. To make up for this weakness, I learned many years ago to be open with people, relying on permission, asking questions, and requesting others to tell me if something becomes too much. That is what I did with Emily. But despite that, she never once communicated that I said anything that made her uncomfortable until she was considering going public. I was confused when she started ignoring my messages. I don't do well with being ignored. It just makes me worry a lot about the other person because I do best with open communication. When I have nothing to work with, I can't really understand what someone is thinking. And in this case, I thought she liked how it was going. It usually just leads me to wishing each day will be the day I get to hear they are okay. I've learned now that repeated messages like this can be stressful to others. I did everything she wanted me to do once she told me she didn't like it, and I took it into my own hands to get mental help and learn more about my issues. It's perfectly fine to revoke consent or decide it's getting to be too much, but this wasn't told to me. I was told the opposite of that. This isn't a case of, I only listened when I got caught. I did listen. Regarding Lolly, there was a chat log shared from back in 2010 when I was 19 about this. I'm not a pedophile, and I'm not a groomer. I was an idiot teenager who made dirty jokes, and I had no intention of doing anything to this person. Quite the opposite, in fact. This post is taking two separate things over a decade apart and showing them together. When I was a teenager, I said lots of dumb things I shouldn't have. I'm 34 years old now, and can't stand by anything I may have typed that long ago. I don't think anyone could. What I can do is tell you my intentions. To give you an idea of how long ago that chat was, when I was 19, the Runaway Guys didn't exist. I've never appeared at a single convention. I hadn't started college. I still lived at home. I made videos as a hobby, / wasn't professional. And I was working on my first Pokemon Let's Play. I don't think something that old should be treated as representative of the person I am now, in any sense. It was not so long ago that I learned the contents of this log existed when you did. I was extremely hurt to be judged for something from so long ago, and that the headline was worded like I assaulted someone. The internet was a very different place then, and being facetious was everywhere. It was like our escape from censorship, and the edgier, the better. It was easy easy to get caught up in the moment and say things I didn't mean when I was that young too. You need look no further than my terrible old videos for the tasteless things I thought were hilarious at that age, or how my sense of humor has changed, or how internet culture as a whole changed. It might be hard to imagine, but back then, people commonly threw around vulgar language and joked about horrible things like it was nothing. Some people were concerned about the one part where I said, "I'm going to rape you," and then said something about a video with a cat. This wasn't a serious conversation. It was a popular meme at the time, and I'm sure it was quoting this video. I remember all of my friends quoting it on a daily basis back then. It was like the biggest thing ever. He then links this 9 million view 17-year-old video titled, "Some Guy Yells at Some Cats."
Get the fuck down! Fucking jump! Jump! Get the fuck down from there! Fucking jump! Jump! Do it, you bitch! Do it! Jump! Yeah! Do it! You fucking pussy! Jump! Look at me. Look at me. Up here. Up here. What the fuck are you looking at? Don't fucking run away from me! I'll end you! Where'd you fucking go? You son of a bitch! Fuck! Don't fucking go in my closet! Get the fuck outside! Run! Yeah! Fucker! You are a fucking piece of shit! I'm going to rape you! Fuck you! Run! Fucking run! Yeah! Don't fucking stare at me! You fucking bitch!
Chuggaaconroy continues his thread by saying, "As for the pedo crush line, I don't even remember saying it. It was 14 years ago. Probably a joke that was topical. Pedo bear was an enormous meme at the time, and jokes dunking on pedophilia were just what the internet humor was then. Lolly equals pedo was a common joke, and given her username, an easy one. I definitely learned a long time ago that these sort of jokes aren't cool, and could be harmful to victims. Society moved on from this time many years ago, as I have too. You can see the difference between then and now by just looking at anything I type. Most of the rest of the chat is just boring talk about video games we like. Even given the time, if you still felt like that chat was getting out of hand, I agree with you. In fact, I agreed with that when I was 19. Lolly said she doesn't know why our chats ended abruptly. I can tell you exactly why. It was because I disliked the direction of these chats and how young she was, and I've told her this numerous times. After a few conversations, I took a step back and realized that this could not continue. She would constantly initiate raunchy topics with my 19-year-old self. I was oblivious at first, thought it was funny shitposting, played off their behavior as a joke, and thought of them as a friend with a dirty sense of humor like many friends I had back then. He then shows some of these messages from 14 years ago that starts off with Lolly saying, "Fine, now I'll possess you forever, and talk to you, and be all like, I see dead people, and make you touch yourself in public." Insert evil laughter here. Chugga responds, "Why are all the things you do to me sexual? You really do want me." Lolly responds by saying, saying facepalm. Chugga continues his thread by saying, after a little while, things started to escalate, and they did send a sexually explicit gift to my house. It made me realize they weren't being silly. They were romantically interested in me, not the other way around. The whole thing made me and my mother uncomfortable, and after deliberation, I not only rejected them, but cut all contact with them. I actually talked about this in the log they posted, and our contact becomes a lot less frequent after that. You can see after this point, we go long periods of time without talking, and I just tell her I'm busy or need to get going. I don't look exactly thrilled about this gift. He then shows some messages from Lolly that starts out with them saying, "Oh, you owe? You got it?" Chugga responds, "Was waiting for you." Lolly responds, "Well, sorry, my stalker senses aren't tingling." Chugga responds, "My mom told me I'm not allowed to wear the shirt though." Chugga continues his thread by saying, "I did not speak to this person for another 10 years. I had no intention of ever re-establishing contact. 10 years later, they approached me at a convention and that's how we became friends again. I thought after that long, she was a new person and deserved a second chance. If you need more than just my word that it was joking around, and I was the one who stopped it, here's the proof." This is me telling this story to them in 2021, and their reaction to it. The ages are slightly off due to fuzzy memory, but this was the event that caused me to cut contact. He then shows Discord DMs of him talking to Lolly in 2021, where it starts off with him saying, "Based on my past rejection of you, I don't think I have to justify that I wouldn't want to. Hahaha." They respond, "You rejected me?" Chugga responds, "Okay, I was going to save this story for when we were in a call, but I guess this is on topic. Plus, like, it's been weeks." She responds, "Oh god, what did I do?" Chugga responds, "So that shirt you sent me. My mom found that soon after I got it, and asked me why the heck I had something like that. I told her my friend sent it to me. She immediately goes, 'This girl has a crush on you, no doubt about it.' I go, 'Oh, well, she's 14. I was 18 at the time. My mom told me I can't associate with that, and that it was dangerous, so I'd better keep my distance. As much as I liked spending time with you, I chose to slowly fade out and hope you'd find someone else. That is why I fell out of your life for a few years." Lolly responds, "Oh, this makes sense. I was going to say I would never have told you I had a crush on you. Ha 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 ha. I was big chicken." Chugga responds, "I knew. At least I was pretty sure of it. Once my mom said that, I sort of analyzed a lot of things you'd said and done. It made a lot more sense after that." Lolly responds, "Do you think I was a cop or something? Ha ha ha." Chugga responds, "I mean, I was pretty sure you were you, but I didn't want to abuse or hurt you with an unfair relationship. So regardless, it was a hard no from me at the time." Lolly responds, "Ha ha ha. Honestly, as an adult, I can appreciate that you set a boundary." Chugga responds, "I'm glad. I was worried you wouldn't like me anymore back then because I was intentionally snubbing you, at least some of the time. It was something of a relief when you were happy to see me at Con Bravo." Lolly responds, "I just figured you were busy with life and moved on, haha." Chugga responds, "I kind of had that as a passive excuse. I was hitting the big time around then. I've always enjoyed spending time with you, but at those ages, I wasn't going to let something develop on either side. I wanted you to go find other people. You were still a kid and wouldn't have had that time again." Chugga continues his thread by saying, "Another side of this is that I confided in them as a teen about the girl I liked at the time. It's not them." He then shows more of the 2010 chat messages that starts off with Chugga saying, "There's this girl who I think might like me, and I told her something like that last night. I swear to God. She got so risen up from her depression. Ha ha ha." Lolly responds, "Is she someone you know personally or just another fan?" Chugga replies, "She started off as a fan. She's hopefully going to this thing in June that I'm gonna be at for a few weeks. Pretty much all my friends are begging me to go for her in that time. Ha 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 ha." Lolly responds, "You has an online love, eh?" Chugga responds, "I really don't know if she likes me or not, but I sorta suspect she might." Lolly responds, "Most likely yes. I mean, you are awesome." Chugga continues his thread by saying, "Was their humor not acceptable by today's standards? Sure, but this was half of my life ago now. I lacked the experience I have now, and I think this shows I have done no romantic or physical interest in them as a teen. And even back then, once I knew it wasn't a game to them, I rejected it and backed off. It upset me when I learned they wanted me. It put so many things they said into perspective and creeped me out, and I can see it when I read this log again. This was my learning experience about why even jokes like this aren't a good idea, and I've never said anything like this to a minor in the 14 years since. I specifically remember telling my mom that leaving that friendship was the most caring thing to do for this person. Speaking as someone who suffered a lot as a child, I have many ground rules involving minors, and have taken these sorts of things immensely seriously ever since. I read through all of it, and to my surprise, she's the one who initiates the roleplay. She's the one who pretends to tickle my feet, and goes much further than that too. She was the origin of it, at least in this chat. I don't know if she's where I got the idea from, but it's possible. I guess it's neither here nor there. I didn't know I was into that at 19 2019 anyway. This next point is something I was unsure about publishing for months. I hate that this is relevant, and I would not be sharing this if they didn't post anonymously. I cut contact with them thinking that they had an innocent crush that needed to stop. It was a lot worse than that. I was disturbed to find that they admitted that in those old chats, their goal was to manipulate me into having sex with them. Here are 2 separate times they told me this story, as well as a time we briefly touched on it. He then shows chat messages from 2021 where Lolly says, "No clue. Someone told me younger was better, so I thought you'd like me more if I told you my age." Chugga responds, "Yeah, I would not have gone for 14-year-old when I was 18, so I can't say I agree with them there. 4 years isn't so bad this far in, but at 14, you're still finding a lot of what life is, and I'd see that as predatory." Lolly responds, "Yeah, when I was underage, I wanted to fuck an older guy so badly, laughing my fucking ass off. It just so happened that all the predators around me were inept as fuck, and I just trolled them for being thirsty, laughing my ass off." Chuggaaconroy responds, "Oh my god, oof. I'm very thankful you didn't end up with one of those. Holy shit. I can see that person really warped your views." Lolly responds, "He really did. Thankfully, I have zero sexual attraction to people unless I love them, and all the thirsty weirdos didn't do it for me, and I was and am an asshole, so I literally just fucked with them." Chugga responds, "Man, here I thought you had a harmless childhood crush on me. Didn't know you wanted to fuck me ASAP." Lolly responds, "I am violently sexual." Chugga then shows some more messages where it starts off with him saying, "But absolutely, I would not let you do that regardless of how well we got along." Lolly responds, "Younger me would be disappointed. Current me appreciates it." Chugga responds, "Ha ha ha, good. I'm glad you grew up." Chugga then shows some messages from a couple weeks later where Lolly says, "Oh, yeah, and I am as well. I guess it just seemed like an unrelated statement. I also remember, you were like really put off by my age." And I was like, "I don't see the problem, because someone always talked about younger girls being better." So I was like, "Legitimately?" Chugga responds, "You told me that story. It's kind of messed up." Lolly responds, "It is honestly a miracle no one took advantage of me as a kid." Chugga responds, "I'll say it is. You are very fortunate in that way." Lolly responds, "Like I wanted an older dude really badly when I was a kid too. Like, I literally had a goal to have underage sex, and was depressed when I turned 16. These next set of messages start out with Chugga saying, "Man, I am so happy you never got hurt back then. So happy." Lolly responds, "RNG, right?" Chugga responds, "You are the luckiest person alive." Chugga continues his thread by saying, "I think the whole picture here changes everything about their side of those logs. Their framing of events to make me look like the predator really upset me when I saw this again. Regardless of some jokes on a screen, this is the real tragedy I prevented from happening. I refused to be their friend for so much less than their actual motive. It wasn't just me either. They said they targeted multiple other adults for sex. My feelings about this are complicated. It's horrible in so many ways that they wanted to use me for underage sex, and then frame it like I was preying on them because of some text from 14 years ago. But I also feel for them when I think about how bad their situation probably was. As for the modern stuff they showed, that was after more than a decade of no contact. I had only vague recollections of what our conversations were like back then, and years into this new friendship, I was asking if, as adults, they wanted to text roleplay but spicy. I was forward about that so they wouldn't think I just wanted silly stuff like I remembered us doing. For the record, I was single, and they were fine with me asking. I wasn't in a good headspace when I asked them for roleplay stuff. It was the worst year of my life. I think I just wanted to feel close to someone I cared about in that loneliness. She told me that she liked/missed roleplay, so I thought it was natural to ask. Plus, by that point, we'd been friends again for years. It was 12 years since I cut contact. I didn't even remember most of our old talks, and we'd put our awkward past behind us, so any bad implications weren't exactly there for me. Save for the one time that they ran into me as an adult, I have only ever known this person online. Nothing else ever happened. This was the first time I'd asked them for anything since learning what I liked. More on that in a second. If Lolly is reading this, I'm sorry I made you hurt. I don't think what I've said changes that. I mean it. Though, I guess I'm not surprised at this. We were friends up until this, got along better as adults, and I was glad to have you in my life without that inappropriate crush. It was basic knowledge to both of us that you were the one who wanted me, and I shut it down. I even apologized last year for asking for roleplay stuff, and you said you forgave me and considered me a true friend. I really don't know what you were thinking. I don't even remember these chats, so I was genuinely confused by what you'd even be speaking out about when I heard it was you. It hurt a lot to see you say that you don't know if I ever considered you a real friend. I told you that you were awesome and funny and smart. A lot. We got each other through difficult times. You were a bright spot in my darkest time, and I admired you for it. I spent your birthday with you. You mattered to me so much, and we just had a nice conversation about how we care about each other right before this too. I want you to know that I cried when I wrote this because it was the moment where it really hit me that I will never speak to you again. The hardest part of all of this was going through our chats to find proof of my intentions. In doing so, I opened a time capsule of a beautiful friendship that doesn't exist anymore, and I saw all the very real ways we helped each other. I wish you talked to me about it. I would have listened. I saw you as a friend for life. Please don't get angry at the person who posted those chat logs. They were looking out for their friend / my former friend, and it's possible they didn't have this context either. They were being a good friend. Me at 19. I have something else that speaks to where my mind was at when I was 19. I didn't want to open up about this at any point, but it's a part of this now. I've mentioned in the past that I didn't live the happiest childhood, due to an especially traumatic time when I was assaulted as a child. I was left unable to enjoy sex until well into my adult life. The idea of anything sexual beyond edgy teenager jokes on the internet was foreign to me at 19, and I think my awkwardness shows it. While I may not know why I sent every little instant message 14 years ago, I know what state my body and mind were in at the time, how I struggled with comprehending anything sexual, and how it hindered my attempts at relationships, even with people I was comfortable dating. I struggled with concepts like them seeing me naked, or enjoying sex for years after that. You can see this in my videos with how inept I was at knowing about sex for so long, or how I could say unfortunate things and not know it. Perhaps this is also why I didn't shut things down sooner, and how I didn't think of what their overtly sexual messages could mean, besides people just being dumb as fuck at 19. I had no experience or understanding of sexual situations. It took my mom pointing it out for me to see what was going on. I just matched the vibe of my funny friend until it became too much, and then I left. Because of this accusation, I had to explain what I went through as a kid to several friends who wanted an explanation. It was humiliating and excruciating to relive it with them, and I cried every time. I was trying to essentially train myself to publicly tell every detail, but it became clear after enough hard cries and nightmares that I wouldn't be able to do that and be okay. It brought me back to terrible places I thought I was done with. I was doing so well at not letting it affect me for a few years now, but this drudged it all up, and now I'm here telling you. It's out there forever now. I'm sorry. I know it's a lot. It's humiliating to tell you even this much. In order to be believed, I have to tell everyone about my childhood trauma, my sex life, my health issues, my breakup, what went on in therapy, the mental ward, how my accuser wanted to use me for sex, and how I almost died because of this. It's extremely painful to talk about. People think they are owed that from me, and no one will listen if I just say, I didn't mean that, or I was only a teenager. This is the price I've paid to show I wasn't preying on someone. I refuse to call it a win that I could explain myself in this way. I didn't win when I went through that. After my recent psychological training, I think my childhood trauma is also how I went through so much of life, thinking that there was a clear line between my kink and my interest in shoes, and just how normal the roleplay felt. I had only my interest for most of my life. My roleplaying started innocently long before I enjoyed anything physical, or even knew I had a kink. All I knew for a long time was, I think shoes are funny, and I didn't think it was particularly strange that I worked them into stories, or talked about them so much. I would act out stories about my own shoes when I was little, and just never really stopped doing things like that. It's also where a lot of my sense of humor has always been, and it really was just a joke for so many years. The realization that there could be some crossover happened much later in life. I compartmentalized things into what was sexual and what wasn't, probably because I did it for so long without a kink, and thought I could go on separating these things by not saying anything arousing for me. It was just very messy and flawed logic for a lot of reasons, and intertwined with something I struggled to make sense of. I definitely needed psychiatric help for this, and I'm really sorry to everyone I hurt because of it. Enjoying sex is still a problem for me at 34. Depending on how much I'm reminded of my past, my ability to enjoy it has only existed for a few sections of my life, and I still go months to years without it. It's been a long time since I last enjoyed it. It's also associated with trauma now, so I don't think I'll be into that again for a long time. It sounds gross. When looking at the full picture of accusations, I want to take this moment to say I've never assaulted or threatened anyone. Every single thing I've shown was entirely in text messages and fiction. It went no further than that. I feel that wasn't acknowledged much in the heat of all of this. I guess it is pretty weird. I don't think I deserve to nearly be driven to suicide, to have so many personal details revealed, or to watch the health of people I love decline, and then for the harassment to continue after it got to that point, especially when I took this seriously long before anything became public. I also absolutely made the right decision to leave that toxic friendship that wasn't fair to Lolly, and I already made that choice 14 years ago to the month. Every single issue here was already resolved privately a long time ago. My visit to the mental ward. Warning, talk of suicide, health issues, blood. I will be vulnerable with you here, as I hope it might help someone. Seeing the online speculation about me unfold caused me so much stress. I lost 8 8 pounds in a week, developed internal bleeding, and was in the ER twice for blood loss. I would use the bathroom and then lose feeling in my hands. Even worse, they kept needing to take more of my blood every day to test me for my existing health issues. They had to put me on medication to knock me out every night, and I'm still dependent on it. Shortly after you last heard from me, I had dreams and thoughts about ending my own life. I felt I didn't deserve to live, that my life was already over. My mother's high blood pressure was exacerbated by my suicidal ideations, and her health worsened too. She was in the ER twice and only just recently started to recover. When I first called my mom about it, she asked me to hang up and call the state suicide prevention hotline. Some kind of folks came to my home. I told them my side of it, and they placed me in a mental ward for my own protection. I spent a night in a holding facility awaiting care at one point, which was the worst night of this entire ordeal. It was 4 concrete walls, not properly heated, all alone with my own thoughts of how I wanted to die, but it started to get better after that. Everyone on the inside was kind to me, and didn't judge. They understood how people could misconstrue several things about me. It wasn't easy though. I cried for my friends many times, not able to know how many of them still liked or cared about me. While in care, I learned I hadn't been okay mentally for a while, and didn't understand some things about myself, something my friends were worried about before all this happened. I found out I had an undiagnosed psychotic depression and a chemical deficiency in my brain. It explained a lot about my life up to this point. I'm not sharing this as an excuse, it is an explanation. He then shows an image proving his new diagnosis. The thread continues by saying, I could stay bitter/sad about things for years. I handled crises poorly, and my text roleplay behavior would crop up in times of crisis. I now take medication for this depression. Heck, just being aware I had it made it so much easier to know what to do, and to catch it in the act. As a result of my training and reflection, I realized social knowledge that I was lacking. Another behavior that got me into trouble was that if a conversation went too far into a topic, and the other person said they were fine with it, that would become the new limit. I thought that as long as I expressed myself and got an okay, we were all good. This follows a logic and I can see why I believed this, but I understand now that depending on the person, it can get to be too much if we go there again and again. I want to thank another patient in the psych ward for pointing out that I got stuck in mental loops during a crisis, and helped me snap out of it. If you were reading this, Destiny, you really helped me, and I only wish you were here sooner because you put it into words that finally got through to me. I think I need to go back in time a bit to talk about my mental health. Back in 2021, I went through many hardships all at once, and it still stands as the worst year of my life. I tried getting psychiatric help, but the mental health industry was overrun due to the pandemic, and I was denied help at every turn. At one point, it took my healthcare 9 months to get back to me, only to be told, sorry, there's just nothing available. Similarly, I was physically cut off from everyone I knew and lived alone in a house for months. The only help I could get for this in 2021 at all was a phone service that sponsors YouTubers, and honestly, it didn't work, and now I have a low opinion of it. They didn't help me figure out my behaviors, and it was just, are you suicidal? And I'm sorry to hear that. They even encouraged my role-playing with friends as a fix for the hardships I was going through. That was how I got back into it after a long time, and what pushed me to ask Lolly as an adult. I'd had a few bad years, and think I just made some bad calls. My counselor didn't know about the internet, only listened to me for a few months, and then recommended I leave so their schedule could fit in more suicidal people. I didn't realize until 2023 how cruel this was, or that I still had lasting trauma from 2021 until a friend told me that I wasn't okay. I think all of this had a lasting impact. I was operating for the last 3 years without the psychiatric help I really needed. How I've been. I've done a lot since you last heard from me. It wasn't all bad. After getting out of the psych ward, I left home and went to live with my girlfriend. I like to think all of my good luck went into having her around. We had rough days during this, but she was so caring, didn't judge me for mistakes I made years ago, knew what decisions were healthy, and never stopped believing I wasn't that same person any longer. You were the greatest, sweetie. As soon as I felt stable, I took care of her because this situation affected her a lot too. All of this wasn't fair to her, and I helped cause it. For both our sakes, I cannot and will not make a mistake like this again. I work hard every day to make sure our future together can be a happy, comfortable life. We had a particularly memorable night where I opened up about the full timeline that got me here. I cried a lot, but by the end of it, we were acting like things were normal again, laughing and making fun of each other. It was a big turning point. I think it was the moment I finally forgave my past self. myself. I didn't get another job, but instead lived as a house husband, making sure everything was taken care of for her. My care made me a better chef and gave me a greater understanding of what she's always done for me. I had some struggles about spending every waking moment writing down video ideas because it was the only routine I knew. My girlfriend liked that I was passionate about something at first, but later worried because it put pressure on me to consider a return to videos. She was right, but stopping was an especially difficult thing to do. This craft has been so much of my life up to this point, and I've always enjoyed the joy it brings to others. It gave me a strong purpose. I kind of just sat around for days, not knowing what to do with myself. About 2 months into being gone from the internet, I began wishing I would be killed. I didn't want to do it myself anymore, but it felt like it would bring an end to my suffering, that I could rest easy believing that. I felt like without my ability to entertain, I had no place in this world. Seeking healthcare where I was staying was difficult. My condition was worsening, and I realized I needed to come home. A lot of you may live in places where this isn't a problem, but the added stress of tremendous medical bills didn't help my health either. Sadly, this meant my partner and I couldn't see each other for a long time. We are long distance, and this situation was so taxing on her health that she needed a medical leave from work. All of this broke right at the start of a visit from my girlfriend. This trip was meant to be extra special because we were one day away from getting on a plane to go on vacation where she would have met all of my friends for the first time, and this was to be the trip where we would figure out our long-term future living together. Instead, I spent half of the visit preparing a statement and the other half in a mental ward while she sat at home with my friend Tim. I didn't even get to say goodbye because I was still in the hospital when she flew home and was forcibly placed in a ward with no visitors. This meant she used up all her vacation time on a trip where I didn't get to see her. Once I needed to come home from seeing her, we didn't know when we could meet again. It's been hard when we were used to visiting often before and had a whole visit taken away from us at the last second. The timing of this could not have been worse. It actually kept me from seeing the person I love. I still don't know when I can see her again. There was one night during this time when I called a friend, and he said some unintentionally harsh things to me about the situation. I was in tears and felt like there was no use even trying to explain myself anymore. My girlfriend got loud for the very first time I'd ever heard, and told me I'm not a bad person, that people only have one side of this, that every person I've talked to still thought I was good, that most people will see reason. I have the best community, and they are probably just waiting for my side, that she loves me and our cat loves me, and you can't fake that she was sick of seeing me cry, and that I didn't deserve this much punishment when I took this so seriously before anything was even made public. It was amazing. Every step of this. Everyone told me I wish I could just say something to make this better. No one else could, but she figured it out. Moving forward, I'd like to make an ode to my friends. Several reached out the night I came home from the hospital. They didn't want me to be alone and still believed I was a good person. Heck, I think some of you believed I was more innocent than I did. It took me a while to see this your way. I love all of you, my friends, even if you were critical of me. I cannot bring myself to not love you. Some of it was things I had already agreed with. Some of it was things I needed to hear. And some of it was telling me that I wasn't as bad as I thought. I want to thank my best friend Tim / Nintendo Capri Sun. He handled so many decisions in all of this for me when I was not well enough to make them myself. He cooked for me every day when I wasn't allowed near knives. I think you really saved me. Please support him with all you can. I didn't say this last time. I'm so sorry for all of the headache and worry I caused my friends and caused you. I worked hard every day to make sure I would never make you feel like this again and could be dependable once more. I really didn't mean to do harm here, and I feel I've learned about myself in ways I didn't know I needed to. These are positive things. Regardless of my clarifications and context, I definitely still made some mistakes and learned lessons, as well as learned new things about how my mind works. I don't want to get carried away and make it sound like I'm 100% blameless. I needed psychiatric help from my depression and roleplay behavior. I took your criticism of my person seriously, and am forever working every day to ensure nothing like this could ever happen again. It will not happen again. I'm a fan of numbers, so let me show you. Since privately confronted about this, I saw my therapist 6 times before anything was made public, completed 11 behavioral health sessions with a psychologist, continuing to do so for the foreseeable future, spent 5 nights in a mental ward and have met with my doctors twice since then, read numerous medical articles to understand my conditions better and how to avoid mistakes, have never missed a dosage of 4 medications and supplements that better regulate my brain activity, have not ever wanted to roleplay again, feel more self-aware and cognizant than at any point in my life up to this point. I can be absolutely certain I would never disappoint you like this again, and I say that knowing you will hold me to a higher standard than ever. I have and always will continue to give it my all in the psychiatric help I sought out. In my mind, nothing after my apology changed that I meant every word, and was already in the process of making good on all of this, months before anything went public. Some of of these I learned and grew from many years ago. I would have been here to tell you this sooner. Had my mental trauma not kept me from it, I needed to heal. Just because I know it will come up, I have to be real. This whole experience was so harmful to my health. I'm not sure that I even want this job anymore. I don't know if the life I would have if I started making videos again would be anything I would like. And it sucks to admit that about something I had such a passion for. It's something I would have to think about for longer. What little creative energy I had would always go towards this, and not some fun video I wanted to make. I cared more about telling my side of it, fixing my problems, and improving my mental health. I'm in no state to perform, so don't expect me to show up at any events. I think many of you will still have criticisms of me. I anticipate many jokes at my expense too, and that's okay. I wouldn't have come here today if I didn't know and accept that. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say. Please call the suicide prevention hotline in your area if you were struggling. Right now, it worked for me. Maybe this situation can save a life, and then I can say my pain was worth it. Michelle responds to Chugga by saying, I hate going, ha, I knew it, guy, but I felt that the whole situation seemed strange, especially with the Emily thing and Lolly. Now we finally know the truth of the whole situation. Hope you feel better, Chugga. Hearing both sides is always important. Chugga responds, thanks. Someone sent me one of your comments about a month ago, and it made me feel better. Art Regal AD says, as a fellow autist, I sympathize with what you've gone through here. You were very open about your interest, and you asked for consent every step of the way, and they consented. She had every chance to set a boundary if she felt uncomfortable, but she didn't. Instead of communicating her discomfort and setting that boundary, she continued to say that it was fine, and tucked her discomfort away until it blew up into a whole debacle. You weren't at fault for her failure to communicate. I've been through a very similar situation myself. Chugga responds, I still think I shouldn't have pushed it, and I did still hurt someone. Kiri says, frankly, I'm not certain how to feel. I want to support you, but I'm not certain how I would do that, and if it would be the right choice. I'm glad you are back, and I'm glad you are okay. I hope everyone in this situation ends up alright. I appreciate your take on the situation. Berg responds by saying, I find it absolutely insane if you can't see how he is innocent in this, but can't really call you out for your feelings. Kiri responds, I feel like no one was truly innocent in this situation. I'm wanting to support Chugga because he acknowledged he did something wrong, and is working to improve himself, not because he's innocent. Chugga responds, absolutely a fair opinion. I would never claim I didn't make mistakes and push boundaries. Marley Mack says, Emil, I am so sorry you had to go through all of this. I'll admit in the moment of the controversy I felt mixed, but deep down I knew this was never malicious. From what I knew about you, and what I do now, my thoughts haven't changed. None of this should have been public. The only thing I could ever ask from you and this situation is that you get better and everyone else affected from the situation can move on peacefully. The videos in the channel don't matter to me as much as the individual behind them. I apologize for any behavior I've done in the past as a fan. I was self-aware in the moments I acted childish and being too fixated on my own unrealistic wishes, because even then I knew you had so much on your table as a human being, and for that I will always feel guilty for. Chugga responds, you don't gotta be sorry. I look forward to your comments. It's nice seeing a name that was in my daily life before all of this is still here. Gakupo responds to Chugga's statement by saying, she's a keeper, to which Chugga responds, very much so. Maybe I'll show her to you one day when things are better. Everchanger, who previously made a negative post on Chuggaaconroy a couple months ago, quote tweeted themselves and say, having read through Chuggaaconroy's response, I must say that my take here was wrong, and I apologize. He wasn't ever a monster. He was ill, to a degree I don't think many of us can imagine. I wish him well on his recovery. All these wounds might take a long time to heal. Chuggaaconroy responds, I'd never claim I was blameless in this. Don't feel bad. You lacked half of the information. The Astral Alchemist quote tweets Chugga and says, our man has released a statement. Well done, Chuggaaconroy. Andrew McHugh responds, I hate how he was publicly brigaded against and dogpiled, even by people I'd respect, and have subsequently lost a lot of respect for, with zero regard for his perspective and health. I still find the foot thing gross. That's not gonna change. But he didn't deserve this level of hate. Chugga responds, hey, I find it pretty gross now too, hahaha. Arland responds to Chugga's statement by saying, so incredibly sorry, I cried reading this document. On a side note, are you going to continue being active on Twitter, or are you still going to be on indefinite hiatus from the internet from now on? I understand whichever. Chugga responds, unsure, I think it'll just kind of be how I feel each day. Michael C responds to Chugga by saying, I just want to say, if this is truly the end of your YouTube/video making career, then I truly think Pokemon Black and White 2 is a very fitting end to it. capping it off with arguably the game series that put you on the YouTube map, and ending with a tribute to our Star Warrior. Hope you were doing well. Chugga responds, I do genuinely think it's a good finale, if it ends up going that way. James responds to Chugga's statement by saying, wow, for someone who says don't harass Emily so much, you sure keep including fuel for people to harass her. Weird coincidence. Chugga responds, I didn't really get a choice but to defend myself after how far it all went. I can defend myself and say, do not harass people. She also already posted a lot of this information herself. James responds, you do have a choice though. Everyone moved on. Do you think, here's a mean thing Emily did in regards to my sexually harassing her, gets you to go back in time? Chugga responds, I wouldn't say everyone moved on. I still faced harassment for this to this very day, and it still affects countless aspects of my life. Emily herself even continued posting about it multiple times in the last few weeks. James responds by saying, the last few weeks were about how she received so much harassment she wanted to die. You poured gas. Julius responds, the harassment isn't happening to one person. It happens to everyone involved in this whole thing. I feel he should have the right to clarify things if his reputation is in danger. James responds, he admits he did this with several people though. The thing people were mad about is true. No amount of, Emily sullied the deal, fixes that for him. He has no success from doing this, unless his entire mission is to make her permanently log off. Chugga responds, I don't want Emily to run off the internet. She's really good at what she does, and it'd be a shame if she quit. I will champion the message not to harass as much as is needed. I just think I get the right to defend myself, as I've had to live with a lot of things that I didn't feel were presented fairly. Lily Pilled responds to Chugga's statement by saying, also I just wanted to add everyone, Tom Bout, you need to take accountability. Bitch, for what? You didn't do anything wrong other than a little social autism, and there's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, it's all gonna be okay, and I hope you're okay too. Chuggaaconroy responds, I don't want to say it was autism. I still made these choices and hurt feelings. I will never deny that. Thomas responds to Chugga by saying, you said something about being a better chef. What's your favorite thing to cook? Chugga responds, oh, I made this glazed chicken recipe that we ate 3 times because it was so good. It was from a book by some bald guy in the UK. Oi Oi Baguette responds to the part of Chuggaaconroy's statement where he shared the cat video by saying, I can't believe this is what the internet thought was funny. This is actually heartbreaking. Poor kitty. Chugga responds, I cut it because it wasn't important. But yeah, I didn't get why I thought this was so funny back then. It's kind of sad. Secret Blue responds to Emil's statement by saying, hey Emil, not sure if you remember me. I was the guy who drew Chuggaaconroy logos for your first 18 LPs. I never gave up on you. I never even believed you were a pedophile because I looked at the bigger picture. I hope you get through this, truly. It's not a good place to be in. I know. Chugga responds, I remember that. Thank you for drawing it. Mateo Loses It responds to Chugga by saying, I think I owe you an apology for the negative things I said then. I appreciate that you mentioned autism spectrum disorder as an explanation, not an excuse. Chugga responds, I appreciate it. I debated even bringing it up because I didn't want it to read as me using it as a shield. My friends convinced me that it was part of the story to talk about how I navigate life with it. Lady Lynn responds to Chugga's thread by saying, I'm also going to say I truly hope you were taking care of any potential trust issues that developed from this, because I don't want to see a world where you don't have some. Chugga responds, oh yeah, I guess that is a thing. Stake Driven responds to the Massey part of the thread by saying, in other words, she deliberately withheld crucial information that adds vital context to the on-screen interactions. That is despicable. Chugga responds by saying, hey, she's still a friend of my friends, and someone I loved for a long time. Let's treat her with respect. Monado responds to Chugga's thread by saying, not addressing the Ant Dude stuff where he accused you of using him to get to his at-the-time girlfriend, or the general abhorrent behavior from your fanbase that is still happening. Tim told me my side of this on a podcast. I'm not sure I have the link though. As for the latter part, I told people to not harass others or make assumptions about them. Not much else I can do. And I did actually end up finding that podcast where Tim mentioned Chugga's side of the story with the Ant Dude accusations. Here is what he said.
First, just let me preface this by saying that this is only what I've heard from him. I can't prove any of this. And also, it's kind of a case where I understand both sides a little bit. So with that, I guess here it is. Before COVID, Emil and Ant were going to do a collaboration together. They were planning it out and everything, talking about it in Discord. And somehow, I don't know how the subject came up about it, but somehow the subject came up of her, of Fushi, like coming to hang out with them while they did their collaboration. And then at some point, Ant told him, well, no, she can't come to hang out with us. And at that point, Emil stopped responding. And the fact that he admitted this to me is kind of telling that it makes me inclined to believe him. So, but like, people stop responding to conversations for all kinds of different reasons. But it's probably Ant took that to mean that, well, if Emil stopped responding, that means he doesn't want to do the collaboration anymore because she can't come. So this led into a series of misunderstandings where they thought that Emil was into her.
Oh no.
And like this just happened like over and over again.
No.
So like, well, COVID came and went, and eventually all three of them were at a convention together. So Emil started messaging Ant about the collaboration, like, hey, can we, you want to maybe get back on this and try it again? And again, this is just what Emil told me, that Ant never replied to any of his messages until the con was over. At the last second, he replied while they were in the cab to the airport saying, oh, sorry, we're on the way to the airport now. So what he started doing was messaging her because he knew that she would actually answer her messages. So if he wanted to get in touch with Ant, he would message her. But they thought because he was messaging her and not him that he was into her. It's kind of confirmation bias, but at the same time, it's kind of understandable why they would think that. So I don't know. Also, I don't know what order these following three events happened in, so I couldn't be sure. So he started going to her streams and watching her a little bit. And I remember because I was sitting in the room for some of them. But I wasn't sitting in the room for this one, but he said that at one of the streams, she started talking about that she was curious about the science behind kinks and fetishes and stuff like that. And so after the stream was over, he sent her a link to a page all about it. But I guess they also interpreted that as him being into her because he sent her a page about fetishes, even though she said she was interested in it on the stream. So then, remember how Kirby passed away? Like, Kirby was the love of Emil's life. At one of Fushi's streams, she was raising money for her cat because her cat was sick. And Emil donated to help out with that.
Did she get mad because he donated or something?
Actually, they did. They said he was simping.
Oh.
Really?
Oh, no.
But he was donating because he sympathized with her because he had lost his own cat. The last one was, at some point, me and Emil were talking about moving somewhere. And we had all these different places in mind, North Carolina, New York, Seattle, the UK, Canada. And we were going over all these different possibilities. And at some point, he started talking to a third party who I will not name. It's, you know what, it's Yo Schiller, screw it. And Yo Schiller's not involved in this at all, don't worry. But he was asking him, does he know anybody who lives in any of these areas? And that's when Yo Schiller told him, well, Ant and Fushi live in Seattle, so you could ask them what the living is like there, and maybe, if you were thinking about moving there. So when he asked them, what is it like in Seattle, I was thinking about moving there, they thought he was trying to move there to get with her. So it's like, this is just the series of misunderstandings that happened, and that's why they said that he made them uncomfortable. So, and it's like I still understand their side too a little bit because of how it all started. But
Monado responds to that link being shared by saying, thanks for the link, but if this was a misunderstanding, that should have been explained more publicly. If Chugga really wasn't in the wrong there, then excluding that is only a bad look. Also, the podcast is like 3 hours long, so that information is super buried in there. Chugga responds, I more so just didn't want to draw more attention to them. It seemed like barely anyone was talking about their part of it, and there was already a public record of what happened anyway. I don't want to include any more people than I had to. Hyperdrive282 responds to the cat video Chugga posted in his thread by saying, I love that you had to use this video as a serious explanation. Chugga responds, I'm not gonna lie. It's probably the one thing that made me laugh as I wrote it. Classic Huggles responds to Chugga by saying, I wanted to ask why you released this statement today. No hate in it, just more curious. I would have figured you wouldn't make a statement until sometime next year on a podcast. Chugga responds, it was just the first day it was ready and I felt ready. It was more about my own mental health than anything. Kindly Kel responds to Chugga's statement by saying, I was active on the internet in that edgy era. It really was a different time. I have memories of multiple people in Halo lobbies threatening to molest me. Everything you were accused of sounded like things that could have been resolved privately. Never doubted you. Chugga responds, thank you. I wasn't sure how many people would remember those times. Some who watch me probably weren't even born yet. Sentient Salt Shaker responds to Chugga by saying, some people will see this and still say you were covering your tracks, or dodging the consequences, or whatever, but you remain one of the most mature and responsible YouTubers I've ever seen. Chugga responds, I've seen some people take that interpretation because I mention autism. I say I don't hide behind it as a shield. I just felt it was necessary to explain my thought process and how I navigate life. I still say I hurt someone and made those choices. That does not change. Orazio responds to Chugga's post by saying, still gonna support you because all of this seemed coordinated by the freak you bought shoes for. No matter how many times you tried to publicly apologize to her, Emily still had more to say to bring you down. I think think what we can learn from this is to never apologize. Chugga responds, hey, let's treat her with respect, okay? I still hurt her feelings. Consent or no. I don't want to entertain theories without proof. Zilla Watcher responds to Orazio by saying, this is the fan you wanted, Chugga. This is the rhetoric you emboldened. You should have stayed gone. Chugga responds, this is neither of those things. I already responded to this person hours ago to tell them that their behavior was not cool by me. Zilla Watcher responds, and how many guys like him are reading this, coming to his same conclusion, and not coming up to tell you, orders received, sir, I will destroy all lying bitches. Chugga responds, telling people to not harass others is in my very first post in the thread. I emphasized it as much as I reasonably could, and I repeated it throughout my statement. I've done all I can. Orazo comments on Chugga's thread again, this time under the Masayanella section, where he says, it was very telling how she still kept video collabs with you on her channel, while somehow calling you out for uploading video collabs with her on your channel, without her consent. Cal responds, it's because she didn't remove any already posted videos, nor did she expect him to do so either. Her issue was him posting something after the fact, something she did not do. Orazio responds, if she actually had a problem with Chugga and thought he was some sort of creep, she would have removed the video they did together on her channel long ago, but she didn't. Cal responds, but she had stated she didn't feel the need to do that, particularly because she did not want to draw the public's attention that something might have happened. Orazio responds, she finally cared about the public's attention when it worked in her favor? She's a scumbag in my book, only calling out her issues once everyone is dogpiling on Chugga already. I know she only removed the videos once people were calling her out on it. Chugga responds, let's not fight about what she did. I'm sure she had her reasons. And speaking of Masayanella's reasons, she actually did give them in this Twitter response. But she wasn't the only person to respond to Chuggaaconroy, as Lolly made a response as well. And we will cover all of that in the next video. So if you don't want to miss that, be sure to subscribe to this channel with notifications on. As for my opinion on this, I've said many times in the past that Chuggaaconroy was my inspiration to start making YouTube videos as a teenager over 13 years ago now, and he was my favorite YouTuber that I watched consistently during that period of my life. So admittedly, I do have bias in wanting to see the best in Chuggaaconroy, but even with that being said, I think most people who read this can agree that Chuggaaconroy is doing the best he can and isn't a malicious person. And personally, all the concerns I had over the allegations that came out against him a couple months ago have been answered in his response, like the stuff about him wanting to roleplay with Lolly years after having sexually charged DMs with her when she was 14 and he was 19, as well as the extra context that Chuggaaconroy was dating Masay and at one point engaged to her during all the collaborative content they've done together, which completely changes the perspective I had earlier from Masay's statement that implied they were friends and he was overtly flirty to her in an unwanted way on videos, when in reality they were dating, so it would make sense for him to be overtly flirty to his spouse. But that's just my opinion. I would love to hear everything you have to say about this in the comment section below. Again, the next video in this series is going to come out soon. Hopefully it will be the last one, but I do feel obligated to document all of this. And as much as I don't want to add any more harassment to any of the people involved indirectly through making this video, I do think, considering I made the previous 4 videos on this, that I should continue to give you all the updates I can. Please don't go to any of the people mentioned in this video and harass them over it. It won't be productive at all and will just make things worse. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video.